You must start the recording. Can't be doing that. Okay. So yeah, as I was saying, there are 7 laws of the universe. Once you implement them into your life, once you actually master each one, then you are going to see some massive changes in your life, you know. So the first one is the law of vibration. So the law of vibration states that everything vibrates and nothing rests. So this basically means that everything around us is energy. You know, your vibration is your energy. And if you're attracting success, or if you want to level up and attract success, then you need to vibrate at a higher level. There are some ways that you can do this. One is through, you know, being in a state of gratitude all the time, expressing appreciation for things, because this ultimately increases your vibration straight away. Okay. And you must keep yourself in higher vibration at all times in order to, you know, go through the consistency, in order to maintain that level of it being enough for you to actually reach your goal. Because remember what I went through last week, if you don't maintain this high vibration and you drop lower, you have to then work back up to the higher vibrational level in order to then start over again, maintaining it at a higher level in order for you to actually reach your goal. Okay, so most people raise their vibrations from calls, from Zoom calls, events, you know, meetups. But then what actually happens is that when they go back home, when they finish the call, when life actually hits them again, when some unknown circumstances comes back into their life, they often fall back down to the lower vibrations. However, when you have this level of awareness, and when you can actually notice when your vibration is going from a high vibration to a lower vibration, the way you'll notice it is the feeling. So when you're feeling good, you're automatically vibrating high. And when you're feeling bad, you're automatically vibrating low. So when people say the feeling is the secret, that's what they mean. What emotion are you feeling? Because that ultimately is just telling you the vibrational state you're in right now. So when you come back from events, when you come back from Zoom calls, when you come back from being around people in a higher vibration to then maybe becoming by yourself or something happens in your life, you can't let that affect your vibration, because when you let that happen, you're first of all you're reacting to your surroundings instead of responding, and when you react with emotion instead of with logic. So when you actually respond to a situation, you're going to respond with logic, and that's the best way to, you know, handle a situation. But also, when you let these outside circumstances affect your peace and affect your vibration, you're basically saying that you're not in control of the way you feel. You're not in control of your emotions, you know? And emotional intelligence is a part of self-awareness. So the more we can be aware of the emotions we're feeling, the more we can tell what vibrational state we're in. And then we can actually use that to either change our vibrational state if we're in a low mood, or, you know, keep it at high level. But as long as you're aware of this, you are able to change it, and that is what's going to help you, you know, get to the state that you want to be in. And you have to remember, guys, we had to protect our energy, because of course there's going to be all sorts of things going on in our lives that are going to affect us. They're going to affect us family life, they're going to affect friendships, you know, all of these things that we don't even expect to happen, you know, the things that life just throws at you. These types of things are going to happen, but we have to protect our energy at all costs. You know, only eat or go or say or read or listen to or do things that are going to keep your vibration in a high level. We've been through this before, but we're going to go through it again because it's so important, right? Your thoughts, the thoughts you're feeling, and the thoughts you're having are going to dictate the feelings that you're going to have, that's basically your emotions, right? And the emotion that you're feeling is going to affect the actions that you're going to take. And the actions that you're going to take are ultimately going to get you the results that you want, or the ones that you don't want. So whatever thoughts you're having, make sure that they are about your goal, not about the lack of your goal, as we've been through before. If you're focusing on the lack of your goal, you're focusing on your goal not happening, which is then attracting that into your situation instead of actually focusing on your goal happening. Okay? So yeah, consistently thinking about a thought, making it a dominant thought, you know, becoming obsessed with whatever's on your goal card, you know, whatever you want to actually attract into your life, become obsessed with it, think about it constantly, and then whatever you think about has a vibrational match. And therefore, if you think about it in a higher vibration, when you think about your goal and you feel good, you're automatically in a higher vibration. That means that it's going to attract the vibrational match, which is your goal. And also, we need to remember that what we focus on is actually what grows. Another point to mention is that there are two ways of changing our paradigm, which in turn will ultimately affect the vibration that we're in. Because if we're going back to our old paradigm, after we've made those decisions, after we've gone back to those old habits, we're not going to feel as good, you know? But if we carry on repeating the same habits, developing new habits to create a new paradigm, then we're going to be in a healthier state, we're going to feel better, we're going to be happy with our results, so in a higher vibration. Okay, so there's two ways that we can actually change our paradigm. The first way is through repetition, like through habits daily, through the morning routines, all of that stuff, and through emotional impact. So with emotional impact, that comes from, you know, the days, or not even days, it could be weeks maybe, that you just kind of get fed up, or something very traumatic happens in your life as well. Because I know for me, there's been a few times that I thought I had a paradigm shift, but looking back on it, it was like not even anything compared to the other things that I've been through, you know? So the first law is the law of vibration, and it states that everything vibrates and nothing rests. The second law is the law of gestation. So the law of gestation states that everything takes time to manifest. So time in itself actually stands for things I must experience, okay? So where are you actually focusing your energy? Are you focusing your energy on the things that you need to experience to learn new things from? Are you focusing your energy on the things that are not happening for you because you haven't done the things that you need to do in order to get the things you never had, right? If you don't plant the seed today, you don't plant the seed today and then eat the fruit tomorrow, right? You plant the seed today and then you have to wait almost 6 months to get the harvest, right? And also, what are you actually asking for? Because everything comes with a journey. So when you're asking for, you know, if you're asking for 6 figures, if you're asking for 4 figures, in fact, there's a journey that comes with it. You cannot skip that journey. You have to go through that journey, because the only thing that separates us from being where we are today to where we want to be is time. The only thing from here to there, if you notice, here is H-E-R-E, there is T-H-E-R-E. The only difference is T. The only difference is time. Okay? So, also, delayed gratification, right? We live in a world where instant gratification is often very, very sought after. You know, people want results straight away. People want to make money straight away. They want results right now without actually having put in the work. They don't want to go through the process. They don't want to go through the journey. They just want the results right now. But when you actually think like that, and you want to get results right now, instead of actually going through the journey, doing the work, you're not actually going to be deserving of the goal. And until you actually go through the journey, and until you do what it takes and pay the price of what you want, you're not going to be deserving of the goal. Something I actually learned today was that when we go on a journey, right? Let's say you want to hit your next goal. The lessons that you learn along the way, they actually need to be solidified before you actually become deserving of the goal. So what this meant was, all of the lessons that you learn along the way, you will be tested for each and every one of them before you actually become deserving of having your goal. And that's because in order to level up, you need to learn the lessons on that level. Like, you can't level up in a video game unless you've completed all the tasks. And even if you complete them and you think you completed them, when you come back around to it again, can you actually complete the same level using the same method that you did before? Or have you completely forgotten how to get to the next level? So when you're trying to get to the next level, you have to understand that you will be tested on all of the lessons that you've previously learnt from. And just to make sure that you have actually learnt the lesson in order for you to actually move on to the next level. Because remember, when you complete a level well and you do it properly, you don't have to go back to that level again. You know, when you do a level well, you don't have to, put it this way, right? If you complete levels without actually learning the lessons it teaches you, and you go from level 1 to level 2, and you haven't learned the lesson, and then you go for 3, 4, 5, ultimately you are going to fall back down to level 1. And this is where people, this is where people don't know what they've done wrong. It's because they haven't learned the lessons on level 1. So they'll come back down to level 1. Until they have learned those lessons, they will not progress to level 2. And if they did progress to level 2, they can never progress back to level 1 because they learned the lessons on level 1. Hope this makes sense, because that's so important, right? Back to the law of gestation, right? So yeah, the real success comes from delayed gratification. When you can know that you're putting in the work today to get the reward in 90 days' time, in a year's time, then that's the mentality that you have to have, especially with what we do, because in entrepreneurship, you're not going to get results straight away. You have to put the work in now to reap the rewards later. And as soon as you realize this, you're going to want to start putting a hell of a lot of work in now in order to get to where you want to be in 90 days, 100 days, a year's time, right? And as I mentioned about the levels, right, you have to elevate for each level. The reason you're not where you want to be is because you don't have what it takes to get there at the moment. You haven't learned the lessons. You haven't gone through the things you need to do. You haven't got out of your comfort zone and done the things that are going to take you to that next level, right? So if you already knew how to get to the next level, you'd already be there. So don't even think like, oh, I should be there, because you are exactly where you need to be at the time being until you learn those lessons, until you can actually grasp the concept of that level to be able to move to the next level, okay? And also, with the law of gestation, everything takes time to manifest, okay? There's this idea of having a debt. For every day that you don't do what you said you were going to do, that's another day that you had to put the work in. For another week that you don't wake up on time, that's another week you're gonna delay your success by another week because you didn't put it in that week. So whatever you don't do and whatever is not done, that's kind of like, think of it as a debt to the universe, something that you have to make up another time. So that's another reason why you should be going all out right now, so that you have as little debt as possible, which will then help you get to the next level as well. Remember, 90% is just showing up, but also, what are you doing for the other 10%? Like, are you actually putting the work in? Because something I've realized recently is that you can manifest all you want, but it's not going to happen until you actually take some action, And also with intention as well. Without intention, you cannot create anything if you don't have the intention to create something. And the opposite of creation is destroying. So when you don't have an intention and you're doing something without an intention, you're actually destroying it. Because first of all, you don't know why you're doing it. Second of all, you don't have an intention, so you can't even create something. So you're going to destroy it, right? And remember, life happens for you, not to you. So if you're in the mindset of, why is this happening to me right now? You need to think like, why is this happening for me? What can I take from this situation? Where is the opportunity in this adversity? Okay. And also, when you get to the stage where you're debt free, you've cleared all of the universal debts in your life, you've caught up to where you want to be, you've put in the extra work for the days that you slacked off, you can now be in a position to experience a quantum leap. So when you want to experience a quantum leap, you have to become debt free, first of all, you have to put the work in, second of all, and you have to be consistent with what you want, and you have to maintain that higher level of vibration, okay? And another point is, do you deserve what you're asking for? This kind of ties it all in, right? Are you actually deserving of what you're asking for? Are you putting in the work? Are you trying to be consciously aware of the vibrational state that you're in, so that you can get back to that vibrational state that you need to be in order to maintain that level to get to your goal? Are you learning the lessons that each level is teaching you? These are all kinds of things that you need to not necessarily think of all the time, but just be aware of, so that if you are not where you want to be, you know how to get back to that stage where you can go and get what you want, okay? So the second law was the law of gestation, which states that everything takes time to manifest. So the third law is the law of transmutation. So the law of transmutation states that energy moves in and out of physical form. So what this means is that energy flows through us, okay? Our thoughts, they are creative energy. They create the energy that flows through you and out into the universe, okay? So what energy is flowing through you? You know, we have 60,000 thoughts per day, consciously and subconsciously. So out of that 60,000 thoughts, only 5,000 are actually conscious. So we have 55,000 unconscious thoughts every day, subconscious thoughts every day. So, you know, 95% of those 5,000 conscious thoughts are actually repeated as well. So we had to turn this energy, our thought energy, into results. And the way we do that is through harnessing the creative power of our thoughts, yeah, and focusing on your desire. So when you focus on your desire, this automatically puts you in a higher vibration because you're feeling good. And because energy is a vibration, or vibration is energy, you are releasing better energy back into the universe. And that is what's going to help you attract the goals that you want, okay? So your external reality, the reality that you're living right now, is directly related to the energy flowing through you. It's directly related to your thoughts. You have created the situation that you're living right now. Whether your situation is good, whether your situation is bad, whether you're not happy with your situation, whether you're happy with your situation, you have created all of it through the thoughts that you have, okay? Like we said, thoughts control your emotions, which control your actions, which control your results. So it's kind of like this law of sowing and reaping. You have to plant the seeds in order to get flowers back. You have to plant the seeds, you have to plant the thoughts in order to expel the energy to get the results you want back, to get the goals you want back, which are the flowers, okay? So peace of mind is the real flex. How many people do you know that have gone through life and they still have stresses? They still stress about things that they don't need to stress about. And they don't even have any idea that this stuff exists, that this is like possible for people to actually achieve a peace of mind, you know? And what we can actually get from peace of mind is the feeling of fulfillment. So when we're fulfilled, it's from helping other people. It's from doing something that actually makes us feel whole as a person. So are you being the change that you want to see in the world? If you're not, then that's your answer to everything, right? If you're not even being the person that you want, that you expect other people to be, how are you supposed to attract other people who are successful and that you want in your business and that you want in your life? How are you supposed to attract them in your life when you have nothing to offer back to them, when you're not even putting out the right energy? That's the reason why you're not where you want to be, because of the energy that you're putting out, okay? So the action you can take for this law is literally, when you wake up, the first 15 minutes of your day are absolutely crucial. This is when your brain is in that state where the thing you do in this 15 minutes from when you wake up, this is the thing that's gonna set the tone of your whole day. So when you wake up, or not even when you wake up actually, how often do you actually read your goal card every day? Do you even have a goal card? Do you actually have the right structure on your goal card of what you actually want, how you're gonna achieve it, and by when, you know? When you wake up and touch your goal card, you're reprogramming your mind to be thinking about, and this is where you create the dominating thoughts as well. If you touch your goal card and read it to yourself on the first thing in the morning, in the way of I am so happy and grateful, now that you're automatically the first thought you have is automatically gratitude, which is going to put you in the highest state of vibration. The second thought is of your goal, which is going to make you happy because you're saying I've already achieved it. You're putting out the energy that you've already achieved it, which is going to bring it back into your experience faster. And always be aware of the energy flowing through you. I'd recommend, if you don't have a journal already, get a journal just so that you can become aware of the thoughts you're having. You know, one thing that I also learned from Neno is that for every negative thought that you have, tell yourself 10 positive thoughts so that you can overcome the negative emotion with positive emotion, which will then raise your vibration, because the whole point here is to maintain that higher vibration so that we can actually attract what we want into our lives. Okay. So yeah, for every negative thought you have, deflect it with a positive one. But how can you actually do that if you're not aware of the thoughts you're having? So that's the importance of at least noticing the changes in your thought patterns, or just journaling how you're feeling. And also having a morning routine so you can get into this state of energy that is ready to, that you poured into your own cup in the morning. Now you're ready to give out the energy that you want to receive back, because in order to receive something, you have to give first. Remember that too. In order to, like, what was I saying? Yeah, morning routines, right? One of the things you can do is this acronym called SAVERS. So it basically stands for silence, affirmations, visualization, exercise, read, scribble, and that basically means journal. So that's something that you can do in the morning to help you get in that right state of energy to go through the rest of the day transmitting, putting out the right energy to receive what you want back into your life. Okay. So the law of transmutation states that energy moves in and out of physical form. So the energy moves into you through your thoughts, and it moves back out of physical form. So it moves back out into the universe from going through your body. Okay. So the next law is two laws. They're kind of similar, and is the law of polarity and the law of relativity. So the law of polarity states that everything has an opposite. So one thing cannot happen without the other. Every situation that you go through is going to have two sides. It's going to have a positive side, it's going to have a negative side. And this is so important when it comes to your thoughts as well. For every negative thought you have, there's going to be a positive one attached to that exact same thought. So you might be thinking, I don't know, let's say you might be thinking, oh, this trade's going to lose. The opposite of that is this trade's going to win. You know, the way that you think determines everything. Okay. So the law of polarity states that everything has an opposite. So, you know, one cannot be without the other. If you're thinking about something, it cannot physically be a thing without the opposite of it being possible. So actually, I'll come to that in a sec. So yeah, 3% of the industry we're in, 3% of the people in the industry we're in actually make it. The other 95%, the reason why they don't make it is because they feed the negative seed. So basically, in order for us to make it, we have to keep on feeding that positive seed. So are you a visionary or an observer? You know, if you're a visionary, you're going to see things for what they are right now. I mean, if you're an observer, you're going to see things for what they are right now. You're going to see things for being hard. You're going to see things for as maybe not working out for you. Like, you'll see things for not working out for you, but not as in like right now. So you'll think that things aren't working out for you and it's going to stay that way. However, a visionary is going to see things for the long term. They're going to realize that they're in the rhythm. They're going to realize that there's going to be ups and downs. They're just in the low point at the moment. And they realize that things are not going well right now. They don't think that it's going to stay like this forever. They don't think it's going to be the be all and end all because things are bad right now. They see things for what they're going to be in the future. So are you actually a visionary or an observer? So ask yourself that question. Have that conversation with yourself. Are you seeing things for the small picture, or are you seeing things for the bigger picture? Are you just seeing this part of your journey as consolidation? Are you just seeing this as maybe like basically Bitcoin, okay? Like Bitcoin overall is in an uptrend, but right now it's just having a retracement. But a lot of people are panicking, they're getting scared. Are you the one getting scared when your journey takes a retracement? Or are you seeing the long-term vision? That's why it's called being a visionary. Are you seeing the long-term vision? Have you noticed how far you've already come? Have you noticed that even though you're having a retracement right now, how you handle this retracement, how you handle this low point is going to determine how high you go the next impulse. So think about that one. And also, Having perspective is having a depth of vision. Like, perspective is basically what I just said. Are you zoomed in or are you zoomed out? Do you see the small picture or are you focused on the bigger picture overall? Okay. And also, what's easy to do is also not, because the law of polarity. You know, it might be easy to wake up, but it's also not easy to wake up. It depends on your perspective and how you see things and the priority that you give things as well. So this is what I was talking about a little bit earlier. Polar opposites actually make existence possible. So what seed do you feed when you're faced with adversity? Do you feed the negative seed? Do you feed the doubts, the insecurities, the fears? Or are you feeding the, what if this goes right? This is going to go right. I'm certain that I'm going to achieve this goal, so I'm going to think about it all the time because I know that it's already done. Are you thinking that way? Or are you thinking, what if this doesn't work out? You know, are you focusing on what's going to happen because you have the undying certainty that's going to happen? Or are you focused on the doubts, which is the lack? And when you focus on the lack, you are attracting the lack of your goal. And that's why you still haven't achieved your goal. Okay? So if what you are did not coexist with what, I always say this wrong. If what you are not did not coexist with what you are, so basically the person you are, if you did not coexist with someone that you're not, then you could not be possible. So what this means is that because you exist, there's also going to be someone somewhere in the world that is the complete opposite of you. And the only reason that you can exist is because they exist as well. Because of the law of polarity, everything has an opposite. Even people have an opposite. There's going to be people who have completely different opinions to you. There's going to be people who are literally polar opposites of you, but without them, you could not exist. So therefore, we have to keep in mind that we can't criticize or condemn the things we're not, because without the things we're not, we actually could not exist. We couldn't grow if people didn't want to grow. We could not learn how to trade if people didn't want to learn how to trade. Do you get what I mean? So that's the law of polarity, and it states that everything has an opposite. Now, the law of relativity, this is one of my favorite ones, right? The law of relativity states that nothing is wrong until you relate it. I didn't say that right. The law of relativity states that nothing is what it is until you relate it to something. So this is about perspective. There's always going to be someone going through something worse than you, and there's always going to be someone going through something better than you. So you can't say your problem is bad until you actually relate it to someone else's problem. So you might think you're having a bad day, but compared to what? Compared to what? Compared to the day before? Compared to someone else's day? Compared to the days you know you're going to have in the future? Like, compared to what? How do you know it's a bad day? It might not even be a bad day. So think about that as well. The nature, value, or quality of something can only be measured in relation to another object. So we can do this with people as well. How do we know people are good people? How do we know if someone's good? How do we know if someone is, how do we know if someone's doing the right thing? How do we know if someone is actually growing? We don't know, because we can't know until we relate it to something else. So when you're comparing yourself, that's you relating your current situation to someone else's situation. So this also goes with the law of polarity as well, because if you are relating your current situation that you think is bad to someone else's current situation, and the situation that they are in is the reason that you think your situation is bad, that means that there's also going to be someone else who's looking at you thinking your situation is great. Meanwhile, their situation is worse. So that's how the law of relativity works. Nothing is actually what it is until you relate it to something else. And that's something, like, it's actually crazy when you think about it. It's all perspective. And perspective is one of our not higher powers, one of our higher faculties, which actually makes us human. So that is the law of polarity and the law of relativity, right? Let me just do one thing. Okay. Okay. So now we get on to the last two laws, right? So the law of rhythm and the law of cause and effect. So the law of rhythm states that everything has a natural cycle. So change is going to be constant. You're always going to be changing something in your life. That's why you have to have the vision. Remember earlier I was saying about which one was it? The law of can't remember which one it was. The law of gestation, that was it. In the law of gestation, you have within it the law of rhythm, because when you understand that everything takes time to manifest, you understand that everything has a rhythm, and you understand that you might be in a high right now, but you know that there's going to be lows. But the thing is, you know that there's going to be lows, you know there's going to be highs, and you know there's going to be lows, but you also know that when you're in the low, your reaction to it and how you handle it is going to determine how high you go after. Okay, so you have to remember that if you're going through a bad time right now, this is when you're building your character. You know how people in the business say every yes builds the business, but every no builds character. On the days you build character, that's ultimately going to be responsible for the person that you're going to turn into. That's what's going to build the person that you are trying to be. So when you're having the bad days, be grateful that you have the opportunity to go through those days, to learn from those mistakes, to build your character up, to be able to become the person that you're ultimately trying to become. And also, you have to remember that momentum or consolidation within your life, within the business, within the charts, it's all the law of rhythm. Think of it. Even the charts have an emotional cycle. Apply that to your life. Are you feeling those emotions, or do you actually know why things are happening? Because those who can actually adapt to what they're going through, and those who actually understand that the law of rhythm, everything has a natural cycle, they're the people who are going to be able to handle it. They're the people who are going to know what to expect. Okay? Because life regenerates itself over and over again. Nothing ever stays the same. So even though you're in a position right now, you might have just made it out of a low. You might be in a low. You might be in a high right now. But remember, you are still not where you were a week ago. You're not where you were a month ago. You're not where you were a whole year ago. So if you haven't grown in the last year, then reflect on that. But ultimately, we all should have grown, because nothing stays the same. And if things are staying the same, it's because you're thinking the same thoughts, you're creating the same emotions, you're creating the same actions, which are keeping you in that same cycle of having the same results. Okay? So that's the law of rhythm. It states that everything has a natural cycle. Everything has natural highs and lows. It's just the way everything works. So the last law is the law of cause and effect. And it states that for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. So what this means is, well, every cause has an effect and every effect has a cause. So if you're going through something right now, something has caused it, and the effect is you going through it right now. If you have caused something from your thoughts, the effect is going to show up in your life right now. So you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect the dots looking back. So look back on the last year, look back on the last month, look back on the last day, and see what has caused and what has affected your life. What actions, what decisions, what choices have caused the effects that you've experienced in your life. So trust what's going to happen in the future, because you know that you're doing the right cause now. You know that you're making the cause happen right now through the actions you're taking, through the decisions you're making, through the commitment you're giving, to reap that effect later down the line, in the 90 days time, in the 100 days, in the next year. So what you do today, you're going to see the result of in the next 3 months, in the next 30 days, even in the next year. So be the cause and effect for what you actually desire. Okay, so that's the law of cause and effect, and it states that for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. So those are the 7 laws. I will just recap, and then I will go through them all and say them all again in case you missed any chance to write them down. But these are just some closing points, right? There is no more effort that is required from you in order for you to be successful, okay? So it's all about what you're doing with your energy. Just redirect the energy that you're spending in the wrong places. This is what people say when it's like what's easy to do is also hard to do. It just depends on where you're putting your energy. So no more effort is actually required. We're all within us have what it takes. We just have to be aware of where we're actually directing our energy. Are we putting it into income producing activities? Are we putting it into doing what's good for like our mental health? Are we putting energy into chats, or are we putting energy into scrolling on Instagram for hours? You know, just think about where you're directing your energy, and when you think about that itself, it's gonna give you the solution to where you might not necessarily be where you want to be. So also we have to protect our energy at all costs. We've mentioned this before, right? People have a passcode on their phone, but they don't have a passcode on their mind. And your mind is a garden, okay? Would you let some random people come into your garden, stomp on the flowers, cut them up, litter in the garden? I'm sure you wouldn't do that. So why would you let people do that to your mind? Why would you let someone who's essentially irrelevant come into your life, get into your head, and just trample on your garden, trample on your dreams, trample on your desires, you know? And that also comes from having the undying belief, because when you have the undying belief that you're going to achieve what you said you're going to achieve, that's when you become unstoppable. That's when you maintain that high level. That's when you start putting out the energy, you start doing the law of transmutation, you start putting out this energy that you want to receive back. And that's when you're going to see crazy changes. So you have to understand the power of your words as well, because remember, what we say and what we hear and what we speak and what we think, they all determine the thoughts we have. If when you're saying your affirmations, you're also hearing it as well as speaking it. And if you're reading it as well, you're also seeing it. So understanding the power of your words, we are what we think about the most, right? So are you thinking about, you know, affirmations? Are you thinking about things going your way? Because if you're not, then you don't understand the power of your words. Or if you do understand the power of your words and you're still thinking negatively, then that's just a recipe for disaster, because you understand the concept, but that might just be a lesson that you have to go back and relearn before you can advance to the next level. And I'm going to say this again. If what you are not didn't coexist with what you are, then what you are could not be. So if your opposite didn't exist, then you wouldn't exist either. So let's not criticize other people or condemn other people for the things that we are not, because we're exactly the opposite of them, so they can say the exact same things about us. But yeah, when you master these laws and you master these laws of the universe, you will be able to master your life, because you will understand that everything takes time to manifest. You will understand the law of rhythm. You will understand the law of transmutation. You will understand that if you put out good energy, if you put out good vibes, as we say, and good vibrations, and maintain that level, then you will understand that if you're feeling bad, you will know that you need to get into the feeling of feeling good. And one of the ways you can do this is saying your goals, being grateful, you know? So I'll just recap all of the 7 laws of the universe. If you haven't met me on Instagram, please do. But yeah, the first law is the law of vibration, which states that everything vibrates and nothing rests. The second law is the law of gestation, and it states that everything takes time to manifest. The third law is the law of transmutation, which states that energy moves in and out of physical form. The third, I can't remember what number we're on now. The fourth one is the law of polarity, and it states that everything has an opposite. The law of relativity states that nothing is what it is until you relate it to something. So you can't be having a bad day until you relate it to someone else having a good day, or you can't say you're having a bad trading week unless you relate it to one of the good trading weeks you've had, or one of the good trading weeks someone else has had, and likewise the opposite, okay? And then the law of rhythm states that everything has a natural cycle, and then the law of cause and effect states that for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. So those are the 7 laws of the universe. But yeah, that's the end of today's call, guys. Thank you for watching. Be sure to mention me on Instagram. Thank you. And yeah, that is it for today.